As someone who has read countless manga and light novels, oftentimes I have seen from time to time that many people overlook one-shots just simply because they are short stories, that many believe that there's no way a good story can be done in just a couple of pages. And while this may not be everybody's line of thinking, a good portion of people, when they want to read something, they oftentimes pick up a manga or a light novel in order to see a good story. But there are often cases where one-shots can be a good story as well. It doesn't have to be 100 pages, it could just be a couple of pages that really tells a good story from beginning to end. And if that's ever accomplished, oftentimes people can really see how not only good that person who writes the story is, that they were able to create such a great story in a couple of pages, but also demonstrates that even a story with only a couple of pages can leave a mark and become memorable. Well, that's exactly how I felt when reading this one-shot credit recently that's titled Henshin Gambo, or in English titled Desire for a Reply. A one-shot that teaches you that just because something negative happened in your life, it doesn't mean that there's no positive things that can happen later on, and also shows that even though certain events may happen to you, that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world, as you can always strive to become a better person and prove everybody who doubted you wrong and see that you are actually somebody instead of a nobody. The story starts with our male MC Tsunaki, who becomes open about the fact that he has feelings for the girl who is considered a Madonna of his class, and this girl is Hiroi. And something that you oftentimes see in typical anime and manga is that instead of confessing to her, he does the classic put a love letter in her locker to see what kind of response she'll give to him, only for him to realize that the location that they were both supposed to meet, Hiroi isn't there, but instead one of her friends, who just flat out rejects him for her, which is probably the worst feeling anybody can feel, as not only were you rejected, but the person that you had feelings for that rejected you didn't even have the courage to look to you in the eye and say no. Instead, they had to have somebody else do it for them, which probably hurt 10 times worse for Tsunaki, as this just means that he's just simply nobody that the girl he liked paid even attention to. As he's sulking about everything that happened and him being rejected, the same girl who rejected for her comes back to him to ask him why he's still sulking about the rejection since it happened a while ago. And obviously not wanting to deal this any longer, Tsunaki decides to try to go home. However, the girl still follows and still has a conversation with him, and she still asks him why he didn't go more further to show Hiroi how he actually felt. But Tsunaki argues that he didn't want to because Hiroi put all the effort in his love letter. However, the girl who goes by the name of Ichizono reveals to Tsunaki that Hiroi didn't even read the letter and just flat out had her answer just like that. So even though he put a lot of effort for that love letter, it didn't matter because the girl he liked didn't even bother reading it in the first place. This revelation of course didn't help Tsunaki with his feelings, as it only made him feel 10 times worse and wonders what's so bad about him. And we get this funny page where we see Ichizono list all the things that is wrong with him and why these reasons alone could be the reason why he was rejected. But later on he comes open as to the reason why he feels so devastated, and it's the fact that it's one thing to be rejected by the person you like, but it's another thing to be rejected without that person involved, and they had to have somebody else to reject them for them. For him, that's what really crushed him the most, and I'm pretty sure anybody else in this scenario would feel the exact same thing. Hearing all this, Ichizono decides to give him a piece of advice, telling Tsunaki that if he really does want to change things, then he should improve himself and become a good person, so much in fact that Hiroi regrets not only taking his love letter seriously, but his feelings for her and taking them for granted. However, Tsunaki is contemplating about this plan, thinking if it will actually work. Ichizono mentions that since Tsunaki is in the baseball team, why doesn't he try to be a baseball star for his team? Since according to her, Hiroi seems to be into jogs, so that would be the perfect role for him. Of course, Tsunaki contemplates about this idea since not only is he a substitute, but he hasn't been involved in a lot of games. This of course infuriates Ichizono so much to the point that she makes it very clear that while it is sad that what happened to him, she doesn't like his negativity, and while she doesn't agree what Hiroi did to him, she also can't deny that what she is seeing right now is probably one of the reasons why her friend didn't even bother giving this guy a proper response, and that's because he had no guts whatsoever. After hearing these words come out of Ichizono, it seems that a fire sparked inside Tsunaki, as later on we see a montage of him training hard in his baseball team. and people are very quick to notice this, as many remember him being really bad at baseball, but now he's improving so much. And it's not just that, but he's also training no matter what, whether it's raining, with the team, or by himself. He's very quickly determined to show his talent and be a star in his baseball team. And in the background, we can see that Ichizono is looking and seeing the progress that he is making, and it seems that his hard work is finally starting to pay off, as not only is he part of the team now, but thanks to him building up his skills and talent in baseball, he actually manages to hit a home run, thus making his team win the game. After these great moments, sometime later, Ichizono and Tsunaki meet up once again, this time Ichizono giving Tsunaki a letter from Hiroi. However, it's not a love letter but more of a fan letter, since it seems that thanks to his popularity now, he is starting to get the attention that he probably wishes he had earlier on. But despite these circumstances, Ichizono still congratulates him for everything that he did, as not only was she surprised that he managed to turn his life around, but is impressed after all the hard work he did just to get revenge on the girl that rejected him. And while it's no surprise this was the line of thinking Ichizono came up with because of everything that she saw and witnessed, as in a nice twist, Tsunaki reveals that that's not the reason why he worked so hard to change his life. In fact, upon seeing Ichizono about to leave, he decides to hold her and hug her from behind, which of course catches Ichizono off guard, in which Tsunaki responds by saying that all this time, all the reasons why he worked so hard and all these efforts that he put himself through wasn't because for his revenge on the girl he used to like. In fact, it's because he wanted to get revenge on her for saying that he had no guts way back then, revealing that all this time, all his actions and everything he did to make his life better wasn't for the girl that rejected him, but in fact for the girl that gave him advice, and the girl who is the reason that he is at where he's at now because of her. And it's not just him that's feeling the same way towards her, she too will also feel some sort of thing as well for him, as while Ichizono didn't say it with words but said it with actions, as she ended up kissing him. And while she probably was happy, at the same time she acknowledges that she most likely has ended a friendship, this of course being with the girl none other than Hiroi. But despite knowing what the outcome is going to be between the two of them, she still decides to move forward by telling him that he probably shouldn't let the girl be the one to kiss him, which of course just makes Tsunaki's revenge plan ultimately fail according to him, as no matter how drastically different he is now, the girl that he likes is still the same and still has the same personality. But he's not complaining because this is probably one of the reasons why he fell in love with her. And while of course even towards the very end we don't get into specific detail that they both ended up dating, it's very obvious from the interactions in the final pages that obviously there's something going to be going on between the two, and I doubt that they're not going to become a thing after that whole final exchange between them. And overall I think this is a very heartwarming story, and while it isn't long, we were still able to appreciate it and appreciate the characters along the way. I really do like how Tsunaki was at his lowest after being rejected by the person he liked, but he quickly realized that just because this person did not like him, that doesn't mean that there's not other people out there that he can have a relationship with. It's a great reminder that while yes, it sucks that the person you like and the person you fell in love with doesn't like you back, it doesn't mean that your life is over, as there's plenty people out there that you could actually fall in love with, or maybe there's other people out there that like you back and you just don't know it. But this isn't the only theme in this one shot alone. There's multiple other ones, such as of course changing for the better, and sometimes within ourselves we don't like to admit it, but it sometimes is painfully true that we need to change a lot of things in our lives to become better people. It's not to say that you have to completely change your whole identity, but just doing a little things to improve your lifestyle and personality can really make people see you differently and see you as somebody worth being around, because everything is important. It's not just appearances, but it's how you act and how you treat others that really counts as well. And probably one of the biggest themes that I've saw all throughout the one shot and after rereading it, and that is to always be grateful to the people around you that are there to help you. And even if you're in your lowest, there's going to be somebody out there that may help you change your life for the better, and later on you may feel grateful or even admire this person for being there with you when you probably needed the most but you didn't realize it. And that's what I see with Ichizono and Tsunaki, as if Tsunaki was still down because of the rejection and Ichizono did nothing to be there for him to give him advice or give him some sort of spark to become a better person, then most likely Tsunaki would have still been the same and he wouldn't have been the baseball star that he is now or gotten people's respect that he had now, and would have just still been seen as a nobody and still be seen as somebody who was out of their mind for trying to ask out one of the popular girls in the classroom. But because Ichizono was there for him, he got over the rejection quickly and decided to change the person he is now to something else, not just for himself but also for a person that he now likes and cherishes, and is the sole reason why he put so much hard work into his new chapter of his life. Because for Tsunaki, Ichizono was there when he was at his worst, so now she's the one that deserves to be next to him when he's at his best. And overall, I am really glad that I read this one shot, as just a simple story had so many things to show in such a short amount of time, and it's a great reminder once again why people should oftentimes give one shots more attention, because there are great stories out there that don't need to be drastically long to make them good stories. But with that, that's pretty much the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.